What's up everybody, what's up MGTOW? So in this video I wanted to talk about the ongoing debate between Max Igan and Jeff Berwick that's basically going on only on alt tech like Odyssey and BitChute. And before I talk about that, I wanted to talk about something real quick that I said in one of my previous videos, since this does kind of touch on the topic of CV and global control. And I think some people might have misinterpreted what I said when I was talking about the ineffectiveness of masks. I was specifically talking about when I said I didn't believe in it, I was specifically talking about the mask, because basically I do believe that there is such thing as transmissible diseases, but the effectiveness of the mask, I don't believe too much in that, because of the difference between the size of a micron and a nanometer, in which a micron is 1,000 times larger than a nanometer, and the masks are rated in microns and viruses are the size of nanometers. So I'm kind of questioning the effectiveness of that. And also, I really like the idea that Dr. Paul Beckwith had, in which he was saying that basically the most effective way to stop the spread would be to make sure that any enclosed spaces had less than 600 parts per million CO2 in the air, so that way you'd only be inhaling less than 1% of anyone else's exhalation. So that's what I was talking about there. So some people might have misinterpreted me saying that I don't believe in transmissible disease or something like that. That's not true. So now we can kind of look at the positions of Max and Jeff as far as their debate goes. Now, for people who don't believe that there's some type of supranational entity or organization that has major influence over almost all the nations in the world, basically, I don't really have time for that anymore. I mean, we can see with the CV thing that the World Health Organization was basically able to put masks on everybody on the planet, including people in Djibouti. And the fact is that it was pushed by the United Nations, or even maybe some higher level organization than that. And they do have influence over the entire planet. And sorry, they weren't feminists. These people are not feminists. Feminists do not control the planet. I'm sorry, MGTOW. I know a lot of people want to believe that women control the entire planet, but it's just evident, to me at least, that there is a supranational group that has a large amount of influence over countries and the direction that the world is moving in. Now, as far as what I think about the debate, I would say that I'm more in the Max Igan camp than the Jeff Berwick camp, but I do see Jeff's points, and I think that in the current time, Jeff's points might even be more valid than Max Igan's. So now, if you don't know who these guys are, Max Igan is a kind of like a researcher. Some people might call him a conspiracy researcher, but most of the information that he presents is backed up with facts, statistics, or video evidence of some kind. And Jeff Berwick is a pretty high-level financial advisor, which is evidenced by his wealth and, his ability to travel and things like that. So both these guys have a lot of good, valid points, and I think that people should check them out. So I will link to both their channels down below in the comment section. Now, as far as Max Igan's points, I think his main kind of point is that, when it comes to cryptocurrencies and things like that, that eventually the internet will only be able to be accessed through biometric data. And basically he's, presenting the thesis that, through more types of social threats or threats of terrorism or whatever, that slowly but surely they'll lock access to the internet and you'll only be able to access it through some type of biometric security measures where you actually have to either do like an eye scan or thumbprint or something like that along those lines to make sure that, there's not people being able to access the internet without giving their identity. And now there's a lot of evidence showing that what Max is talking about is at least possible, because we can see that, especially through social media and things like that, it's becoming increasingly difficult to access these types of services without entering a lot of your own personal data. And yeah, in America, it's a little bit more free than in some other countries, but obviously like places like China, It's very difficult to get onto the internet, and the internet is able to be blocked and controlled by governments or by corporations or supranational organizations. So to say that he's just some kooky conspiracy theorist that thinks that they're going to be able to block people from accessing the internet, we can now see that that's not really that outlandish of a claim. Now, on the other side, Jeff is kind of just an advocate of, anarcho-capitalism, and his main thesis is that, as long as you get your money right, you get some property and some weapons, everything should be fine. And in the short term, I tend to agree more with Jeff in the fact that, people should be striving for financial independence and security and things like that. But at the same time, I can also see what Max is talking about and see that that is a definite possibility coming. And a lot of people are kind of just going along with the way that the governments and these supranational entities are kind of corralling people into these monopoly type of services where they have complete control over, like Facebook and Google and things like that, where you can just be banned off of it, canceled, and then you can't access it. And especially, with the voice tracking technology and things like that, you can see, I'm sure people have seen, people who try to re-enter either YouTube or Facebook and they're immediately banned because they have voice tracking technology. It doesn't matter if you switch your IP address with a VPN and all this other stuff. They can identify your voice and the AI can identify it and just immediately ban you. So, again, to say Max Igan's completely kooky with his thesis is really short-sighted. Now, the only thing that I would say about Max Igan's thesis is similar to any type of financial predictions. That, yeah, sure, these things probably will happen, but what's the time frame? And for me, I think it's going to be more generationally processed, where, people my age and older probably won't accept that level of control over the internet, but slowly as the newer generations come up and they're more internet based, especially through the social media and the kind of like subtle social credit score that the social media is creating, they will be more frightened of stepping out of the bounds of that, because, we will become more and more dependent on social media and social access to the internet to be able to purchase things and things like that. So that's definitely a threat that, the younger generations will be more willing to accept these type of social controls. Now, like I said, we can see a lot of these things coming through the CV and stuff like that, and also through the automation of many businesses. Like, most big box stores, they don't even have cashiers anymore. Fast food restaurants are moving towards full automation. Stores like the Amazon touchless store, where you just walk in with an app, it scans everything that you buy, and then you just walk out of the store and it charges your app. So like you can see how if that was connected to some type of CV, certificate, and you didn't have it, you couldn't even walk into the store. And if they get rid of all small businesses and all stores are automated and operating on these type of systems, and then they bring in something like the CV thing again, you could see how you could be easily blocked from accessing food or other social services, like very easily. If it was all digitized, there's no way to counterfeit a CV certificate. There's no way to pretend like you got the shot or whatever, and you could easily be blocked from accessing these social services. So like I said, I do think that in the short term, what Jeff is talking about is definitely very pertinent, but I think that Jeff is more focused on the financial aspect and Max is more focused on the social aspect of things. And really there needs to be kind of like a synthesis of their two ideas, because, yes, people need to be financially independent in order to fight against this type of stuff, but they also need to understand how this stuff works. And I think from Jeff's position, he's a little too nonchalant about the social control aspect of the whole thing. where he researches stuff and he kind of understands what's going on. But I think Max has a much deeper understanding of the direction that global control is trying to push people into. And like I said, I don't think that they're trying to completely eliminate the population, but I think they are trying to eliminate anybody that's going against this type of global control system. And one way to do it would be to block them from purchasing things on the internet, block them from being able to purchase things in stores. And, if you're not going along with it, and once things move more and more and more into the digital, and everything's digital and everything's digital access, it will become much more and more easier for them to block you from doing things. So taking like a Jeff Berwick type strategy for the short term and trying to just basically stack cash, stack weapons and defensive stuff, buy property, things like that in the short term is the best move. But you also need to pay attention extremely to these social controls that are being pushed through whatever this supranational type of entities that are pushing this stuff onto us are doing. So really, like I said, it's an interesting debate, and both guys have very strong points as to what's going to happen. And like I said before, I just think that maybe the time frame for what Max is talking about might be longer than he thinks it's going to be. But I do see those type of social controls coming. And on the financial side with Jeff, I definitely agree with him that stacking dough is the best way to go. But at the same time, you shouldn't be so nonchalant, because obviously we can see that a lot of people are going along with whatever these global controllers are pushing on us. And yeah, as an independent kind of anarcho-capitalist person, you might be fine. But at a certain point, if you're the only person that's fine and everybody else is kind of messed up in the game, then it's not going to help you that much. Especially with, the things that are coming. People are putting up complete satellite grids over the whole planet where they can see basically the whole planet in real time. I mean, you might live in the mountains somewhere, or you might live underground or whatever, but it will be very easy for them to find you. And if you're the only person left that's still believing in freedom and trying to escape these tyrannical systems, it's not going to help you very much. And so I think that's why we need to kind of pay attention to both sides of the thing, the social control and the financial control. And basically that's it, really. Just, looking at these two topics, and this is just what I've been thinking about, because to me, I kind of do see this type of stuff coming. And a lot of people are kind of nonchalant about it. They think, oh, it'll never happen in the United States. It'll never happen where I am. But we can see countries, first world countries like England and Australia, Germany, France, they're all getting super locked down now. Canada also, super locked down. And like I said, it just takes that one next step to where everything's digital and everything's automated. And then when you don't want to take the shot, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It won't matter. It won't matter how much money you have in the bank, because if you can't go into the store to buy food, what is it worth? If you can't order things on Amazon, what is it worth? So that's why I think we need to kind of just not kind of say, well, hey, I'm good now and everything's going to be good because I'm good, because that's not really how it works. So I'm going to get out of here. Guess everybody have a good day and go MGTOW.